Okay, let's unpack this. You know that feeling, right? You walk into a room, maybe kitchen, dining area, and it just feels like the tables and counters have become clutter magnets,
Yeah.
like paperwork, bags, that random gadget you haven't found a place for yet, especially
Ugh.
if you're juggling family life. It can be a real source of just low-level stress.
It's interesting how that stuff, the small things,
Yeah.
can actually, impact how we feel at home. It's not just visual mess. It affects your headspace, too.
Absolutely. So the mission for this deep dive is pretty simple, really, and hopefully super helpful for you listening. We're looking into practical, real strategies for getting a proper handle on household clutter.
Right.
We've looked at quite a mix of sources, some blog posts focused on specific things, like how to declutter just mugs, others on general organization.
Hmm.
Then there was this really lively Reddit thread about blankets, believe it or not, like how many is too many?
Always a classic question.
And even some research on kids and toys, which was fascinating. So our goal is basically to give you the highlights, the actionable stuff, so you don't have to wade through it all yourself.
And the focus really is on those actionable steps, small changes you can actually do that make a difference you can see.
Exactly. So let's start right where a lot of the chaos begins. Kitchen counters, dining tables.
The flat surface problem.
Yeah. A theme that kept popping up was, first, just taking a second to notice what keeps landing there. Is it always mail?
Right.
Is it school bags and coats dropped right inside the door? Or just miscellaneous stuff without a home?
That first step, just observing, is so important because then you know what you're actually dealing with. You're not just tidying randomly, you're tackling the source of the clutter, understanding why it piles up there.
Right. And speaking of sources, paper. Wow, that seems to be a universal headache.
Oh, definitely.
One really immediate tip was deal with mail the second it comes in. Like, don't even let it travel further into the house.
Stand right by the door.
Exactly. Junk mail, straight in the recycling. Newspapers, maybe a separate pile. Bills, put them where bills go immediately. Important dates, calendar, fridge, whatever works.
The blogs really pushed this, didn't they? Saying it takes, what, like 2 minutes?
Literally minutes, especially since so much mail is junk anyway. But making that a habit stops those paper piles before they even start. It's that 2-minute rule idea, right? Tackle it now.
It's such a good example of a tiny, consistent action preventing a bigger mess later. It stops the paper clutter at the source.
So taking that idea further, lots of sources talked about creating a more paperless home.
Which sounds great, but...
It takes work up front, yeah.
Right.
Unsubscribing from physical mailers, switching everything possible to online billing, canceling those magazines you flick through once.
It's tedious at first.
Totally. The sources acknowledge that. But the long-term win is huge. Less paper clutter, obviously, but it also just simplifies things. And, it's better for the environment, too, which is a nice bonus.
That upfront time investment really does pay off. Less physical stuff, easier admin.
Okay, but even if you go mostly paperless, some things still arrive physically. So the idea was to set up a dedicated paperwork zone.
Like a specific spot.
Yeah, maybe one drawer in a desk or a tray tucked away in a pantry or somewhere less visible. The key thing then is scheduling time to sort it maybe once or twice a month when you pay bills anyway.
Batching the task.
Exactly. Everything gets filed, actioned, or recycled. It keeps paper off those main surfaces and gives you a system.
That designated zone idea creates a boundary, stops it spreading, makes it manageable when you do deal with it.
Okay, but let's be real. It's not just paper appearing magically on our counters, is it?
Definitely not. Keys, wallets, sunglasses, random toys.
All that stuff. So the drop zone concept came up a lot. Really useful idea.
What exactly is that?
It's just choosing specific spots, maybe a nice basket near the door, a shelf in a closet where you intentionally put everyday items when you walk in instead of just dumping them on the nearest flat surface.
Okay, redirecting the habit.
Yeah, and for bigger families, some suggested individual drop zones, like little bins for each person by the stairs or in the mudroom. Everyone has their spot.
That makes sense. Creating intentional places for things the moment you enter the house stops that impulse to just drop stuff anywhere convenient.
Precisely. And then, to really keep it all under control, the blogs loved the nightly clean sweep.
The reset.
Yeah, just taking like 5 or 10 minutes before bed to put things back where they belong, including in those drop zones, chucking out any actual rubbish, and just clearing off the main surfaces.
It's framed as a short, powerful habit.
Totally. Makes a massive difference to maintaining order. And think how much better it feels waking up to a tidy space.
That nightly reset is gold. Stops the daily buildup, lets you start the day feeling calmer, more organized.
All right, so we've got some solid ideas for that surface clutter, but that kind of leads to a bigger question, doesn't it? One that came up a lot. How do we even know when we have too much stuff generally?
Ah, the how many question.
Yeah, it feels like everyone struggles with this for different things around the house.
And the answer, well, it's almost always, it depends, isn't it? It's so personal.
Yeah,
It's not about finding some magic number.
right.
It's more about understanding your actual needs and your context, not what you think you should have.
Good example. Blankets. That Reddit thread was fascinating. People had such different ideas about what too many blankets meant.
Oh, I bet.
Some loved being surrounded by them, others felt totally overwhelmed. And things like, climate and how often you have guests made a huge difference.
Exactly. Someone in a cold place who has family stay over often is going to need more than someone in Florida living alone.
Mm.
It's logical, but we often forget that context.
The Reddit folks did have good practical tips for cutting down, though, like donating spares, obviously.
Hmm.
The one in, one out rule came up a lot. New blanket arrives, an old one has to go.
Classic decluttering rule.
Yeah.
Very effective.
Yeah, and even ideas like turning old ones into pillows and
Yeah.
using those vacuum storage bags for off-season ones to save space.
Those space bags are great for bulky items. All good strategies for managing the actual quantity and storage. That one in, one out rule helps stop the creep, keeps things stable.
Okay, shifting gears slightly. Coffee mugs. Another category that seems to just multiply.
Oh, tell me about it.
We saw an article that pointed out how easily we collect them. Souvenirs, gifts, you name it. But then we only ever use, like, the same 2 or 3 favorites.
And there's often that sentimental attachment, isn't there? It makes it harder to let go.
Definitely. But the article had this really logical, almost mathematical way to figure out how many you actually need.
Oh, really? Like a formula?
Sort of. It was basically number of coffee or tea drinkers times how many mugs they use a day, then factor in how often you run the dishwasher,
Okay.
and then add a few extras for guests. It sounds a bit clinical, but it gives you a data point, instead of just feeling like you have too many.
That's actually quite helpful.
Yeah.
It bases it on real usage, not just emotion or guesswork. Gives you an objective starting point.
And for actually decluttering them. Pretty straightforward advice. Dish anything chipped, stained, cracked. Keep only the ones you genuinely love and use.
Makes sense.
And you can always repurpose the ones you don't want to drink from, but maybe have sentimental value pen holders, little plant pots, that kind of thing.
Repurposing is a good compromise sometimes. Keeps the memory, loses the kitchen clutter.
So this whole how many is enough thing obviously applies to dishes generally. We found a resource, simply enough, that had some smart points.
Okay.
They said, start with how many people live in your home full-time. That's your baseline.
Right, everyday use.
Yeah. And then they made a brilliant point. For big gatherings, parties, whatever, consider borrowing or renting extra dishes instead of owning a massive set you only use twice a year.
That's clever. Focus on daily needs, not the rare exceptions. That can be really freeing for lots of categories, not just dishes.
Simply Enough also suggested tackling dishes by category plates first, then bowls, glasses, cutlery.
Breaking it down.
Yeah. Take everything out, immediately get rid of anything broken or chipped, then be really honest about pieces you just don't like or never use.
The honesty part is crucial.
Totally. They even mentioned cutting down kids' specific cups and plates to just their absolute favorites. The whole message was, have enough for your daily life comfortably and be resourceful for the bigger, less frequent events.
That systematic approach makes it feel less overwhelming. You can make clearer choices about what you genuinely need and use category by category.
Okay, let's zoom in on a couple of specific spots. Kitchen island stools came up in one guide. The main angle there was making the kitchen a place where the family actually interacts.
So less about just seating, more about function.
Exactly. They stressed thinking about comfort, especially with kids' padded seats, maybe backs, and practicality, like easy-to-clean materials. Leather or faux leather got mentioned a lot for wipeability.
Makes sense for a high-traffic family zone. Practicality is king. Comfortable seats mean people will actually use them. Easy clean saves your sanity.
And when it came to how many stools, the guide warned against just cramming them in.
Right, spacing matters.
Yeah. Think about the actual space, your household size, how often they'll be used. They gave a general guideline, allow about 60 centimeters, so roughly 2 feet, of width per stool for comfort.
Okay, that's a useful rule of thumb.
They even gave examples. A 6-foot island might fit 3 stools comfortably. 8 foot, maybe 4, 10 foot, perhaps 5, assuming seating on just one side.
Right.
If you've got a double-sided island, maybe double that, but you still need to think about legroom and flow. You don't want it to feel cramped.
Those spatial things are so important, not just for comfort, but for how the whole kitchen works. You want it functional, not just full.
Another classic clutter culprit. Food storage containers.
Oh, the Tupperware avalanche.
Exactly. One guide talked about that common problem: overflowing cupboards, mismatched lids.
We've
Nightmare.
all been there.
The key takeaway was, think about how you actually eat and store food to figure out how many you need. They suggested, for one person, maybe 6 to 10 container, various sizes, is often enough.
That's a surprisingly small number.
It is, but it's a guideline, right? It acknowledges people cook differently, have different leftover habits, but it's a benchmark to see if you have like way more than you ever use at once.
Gives you a practical starting point. Encourages you to think about your real habits, not just accumulate containers.
The guide also mentioned things to look for in containers. Material: plastic, glass, metal, each has pros and cons. Stackability, huge for storage efficiency. And crucially, good lids.
Yes. Bad lids are the worst.
We've all had leaky lids, right? Reliable seals are non-negotiable. Saves food, prevents mess.
Totally. Good quality, tight-fitting lids are essential. Saves food, saves frustration.
All right, so we've got strategies, we've thought about quantity, but a huge piece of this puzzle is the mindset, isn't it?
The emotional side. Yeah.
There was this really insightful Reddit thread about the difficulty of deciding what stays and what goes. People find it genuinely hard to part with stuff. That attachment is often the biggest block.
That connection to our things is deep. Objects hold memories, represent parts of our lives, or even who we want to be. Makes objective decisions tough.
So instead of just asking the classic, does it bring joy, or do I use it, the thread suggested some other questions that might cut through the emotion a bit.
Like what?
Like, is this surplus to my current needs? Or, realistically, will I ever use this again? And reframing donation, thinking of it as giving the item a useful new life with someone who needs it.
Shifting the focus. Thinking about future use or benefit to others can make letting go easier sometimes. Helps bypass that immediate emotional reaction.
The thread also talked about finding your personal why for decluttering. What's your reason?
The motivation.
Yeah. Is it less cleaning, less stress, more time? Knowing that why can keep you going when it gets difficult. And practical tactics came up too. Packing stuff away temporarily to see if you miss it. Setting limits based on storage space, the container concept. Like, you can only keep what fits in this box.
That why gives you the drive, and the strategies give you the tools and boundaries. Need both.
And there were a couple of really direct, almost funny tiebreaker questions people use.
Oh, yeah.
One was pretty blunt. Would I clean poop off this?
Uh-huh. Okay, that's direct.
If the answer's a definite no, maybe it's time to let it go. Another was boxing things up by category and only pulling items out when needed. After a few months, you see what you actually use.
That's a good reality check.
And acknowledging the clutter of dreams and hobbies, stuff from past interests you're not doing anymore, letting that go.
Those kinds of stark questions can cut through the sentimentality. And the clutter of dreams, oh, that's powerful. It's okay to let go of past versions of yourself.
Okay, let's shift slightly. The impact of having fewer things. This includes a really interesting angle on toys.
Ah, the toy situation.
Yeah, we looked at stuff from Motherly and a parenting science subreddit. They discussed research showing that toddlers often play longer, happier, and more creatively when they have fewer toys available.
That feels counterintuitive, doesn't it? More toys should mean more fun.
You'd think. But the research suggests fewer choices lead to deeper engagement with each toy.
Less overwhelm, maybe.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
They mentioned studies from the University of Toledo where researchers watched toddlers play with either just 4 toys or a bigger set of 16. With only 4 toys, the kids played with each one for significantly longer periods. Better focus, more imagination.
Interesting.
So toy rotation came up as a great strategy. Keep some toys stored away and swap a limited selection in and out regularly. Gives novelty without the overwhelm.
Provides a curated selection, not just sheer volume.
Yeah.
Reduces overstimulation, encourages deeper play. That makes a lot of sense.
And you can kind of see how that less is more idea might apply elsewhere too, right? Clothes, maybe? Even just making decisions?
Definitely. One Reddit comment was interesting too. Someone said as their child got older, they focused on expanding categories of toys, like more building blocks or art supplies, rather than just getting more random toys. Quality over quantity.
Focusing on toys that encourage that open-ended play.
That's a key distinction. It's not just the number, but the type of play. Open-ended toys are way more valuable than lots of single-use passive things.
Okay, so we've decluttered, we've thought about quantity. How do we keep it this way? Maintenance is key.
The million-dollar question.
Apartment therapy had a really practical idea, the 20-minute daily clean routine.
Just 20 minutes.
Yep. The idea is commit to 15-20 minutes of focused cleaning or tidying, maybe 5 days a week. It stops you needing those huge weekend cleaning binges.
Consistency. Little and often prevents buildup. Much more sustainable than marathon cleaning.
They distinguish between those tiny daily habits, wiping the counter, putting shoes away, and this dedicated 20-minute session. They even gave a sample schedule, like maybe dusting on Monday, fridge and appliances Tuesday, vacuum Wednesday, mop Thursday, and then Friday tackle bathrooms or known clutter hotspots.
A structured approach helps ensure everything gets regular attention without it feeling like a massive chore list every day. Makes it manageable.
That kind of routine helps embed the habits, doesn't it? Makes maintaining a clearer space much easier over time.
Definitely.
So, as we kind of wrap up this deep dive, I guess the main takeaway is that managing clutter, figuring out how many is enough for you. It's not just one thing.
It's a mix.
Yeah, it's practical strategies, it's shifting your mindset about stuff, and it's really understanding your own unique needs, your family's needs. It's not a one-off fix, it's more of an ongoing process, finding what works for your life right now.
It's really about creating a home that supports you, makes you feel good, rather than adding to your stress.
Exactly. And on that note, here's a final thought for you to take away. Think about one specific area in your home right now, the one that feels the most cluttered, the most overwhelming. Based on everything we've talked about today, what's just one small thing, one single action you could realistically do today to start creating a little bit more space, a little more calm in that one spot?